Good afternoon. I'd like to call to order the Horry County Solid Waste Authority regular meeting for Tuesday, May 28th, 2019 at 5:30 p.m. We will have Mr. Sam Johnson do our invocation, and Mr. Norfleet Jones will do the Pledge of Allegiance for us, please.
Please bow your hands. Dear Heavenly Father, we come together to make decisions based on the SWA. Hopefully, continue to keep us in your mind as we make the best decisions for all. Amen.
Thank you.
Stand and place the flag, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I need to get an approval of the agenda, please.
I move.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, and the agenda is approved. We need approval of the minutes, regular minutes for April 23rd, 2019.
So move.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussions? No discussions. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, and the motion is carried. We also need, we had a public hearing on May 2, 2019, and I need to get an approval of that, please.
So move.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please let it be known by saying aye.
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 Ayes have it, and the motion is carried. We do have a request for public input. I'd like to stress that public input, we take about 5 minutes. There will be a 1-minute warning sign when you have 1 minute left. We have is that Erin Pate from the Coastal Service League? And so we'll start with you. And let me say good afternoon to you.
Thank you. Good afternoon to you. And thank you, Chairman Hughes and board members, for giving me a few minutes to talk with you today. I'm relatively new in my role at the Coastal Conservation League. I serve as the North Coast Office Director for the Coastal Conservation League, and what we do is work in this area in Georgetown and Horry counties. Our mission is to protect natural landscapes, clean water, abundant wildlife, and quality of life in the coastal plain of South Carolina. And as I've become more familiar with the Solid Waste Authority, I read your mission, and I would say it is a laudable mission to be an independent, innovative, responsive organization that aggressively provides comprehensive, cost-effective solid waste management in an environmentally sound manner. Last year, the Solid Waste Authority hosted a meeting, an informational meeting to talk with local environmental organizations about the authority's plan for future expansion on the Highway 90 landfill, and representatives from the Sierra Club, the Winyah Rivers Foundation, the Conservation Voters of South Carolina, the Horry County League of Women Voters, the Chirping Bird Society, the Coastal Conservation League, and the South Carolina Environmental Law Project attended that meeting, and we really appreciated the opportunity to hear from you all so early in the project's endeavor. We understand that the Solid Waste Authority is initiating a process to submit a permit application for Piggyback Expansion 3 and a permit application to construct a bridge over Sterrett Swamp to facilitate efforts to transport dirt from the 1187-acre site to the borrow pits on the landfill site in order to begin construction on Piggyback 3. We also understand that Piggyback 3 expansion is considered important to accommodate future C&D waste, that this expansion will cost taxpayers in the neighborhood of somewhere in total around $54 million and will require borrowing from the landfill closure and post-closure accounts. We expressed our concerns with the expansion in a comment letter dated July 26, 2018, submitted on behalf of the South Carolina Environmental Law Project, And they wrote that letter on behalf of the environmental organizations, or some of them that were involved in the meeting last summer. We are concerned about the proposed bridge across Sterrett Swamp and the dirt mining activities that would occur in and near the swamp. The swamp, as many of us know, serves as an aquatic and habitat corridor between the state-protected Lewis Ocean Bay Heritage Preserve and the bottomland hardwood wetlands of the Waccamaw River watershed. Sterrett Swamp is an important flood mitigating area that's becoming exponentially more critical to protect as development is occurring all around this area. We ask you to consider an alternate plan that would address C&D disposal and reduce cost to taxpayers, as well as protecting Sterrett Swamp. As I have learned more about the Solid Waste Authority, it is our belief that a feasible and practicable alternative lies in the authority's history. In the year 2000, the Horry County Solid Waste Authority applied for a permit to the Army Corps of Engineers to fill wetlands for the purpose of building a C&D landfill on the 1187. DDC Engineering was hired by the Solid Waste Authority to create this plan for the C&D landfill, and they worked to negotiate with the permitting agencies and the environmental groups like the Conservation League. As part of this plan, there was an agreement that there would be no bridge crossing Sterrett Swamp to physically connect the proposed C&D landfill to the existing solid waste landfill. A commendable agreement was then negotiated and signed by the Solid Waste Authority and the Nature Conservancy and the Waccamaw Audubon Organization to put a conservation easement on 887 acres of the 1187, with 122 acres for the C&D landfill. This alternative offered site suitability because the location is close to the existing landfill, is close to existing highways, and the cost to taxpayers was lower. Those are reasons we would contend it's still relevant for consideration today. So from a public protection and environmental protection standpoint, this 2001 plan, we believe, is the most attractive plan and ask for your consideration of that historical plan. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comments. We will certainly take that in consideration. I would like to say that the staff does review and does consider all alternatives, and so we're looking at whatever is reasonable. And thank you for your concerns, and we'll take that in consideration. Thank you for coming. Miss Amelia Woods, is she here? There you go. I knew you had to be hiding back there somewhere. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Earlier today, or you may have received an email from me, and those of you that didn't receive the email, I asked Danny to please make copies of it for everybody here. And that email did have some suggestions in it, similar to what Aaron just made about alternatives. Also, there was another email that I sent to Danny later that I did not tell him to copy for y'all. But in that email, it requested some more information about your restricted closure and post-closure accounts. I do have a copy of the resolution that was passed in September 17th, actually Tuesday, September 17th, 1996, that required the closure and post-closure accounts to be listed as restricted and for those accounts to only be used for those purposes. So what I'd asked for was any information regarding those resolutions that may have amended or revised the resolutions in any way. So I think that I should be receiving that information pretty soon. I hope y'all will consider that information as well. Also, as far as the email that I sent you suggesting the alternative that Aaron was mentioning, it has a lot of reasons in there, and the conservation groups have been discussing alternatives among ourselves for the last several months. And we were hoping that, we could actually have some discussions with the authority, and Aaron and I did have a private discussion with Danny, but we would love to continue those discussions about the alternatives. In fact, in the letter that the Amy Armstrong sent on behalf of all the environmental organizations last year, we requested in that letter that there would be discussion of alternatives. And at this point in time, there haven't really been any discussions. We know that y'all probably talk about alternatives among yourselves, but we were invited to the meeting, and so we became, which we really, really appreciate. Thank you, Pam. I understand it was Pam's idea, and we really, really appreciate that, knowing all these things. But, we would also appreciate being involved in discussions about alternatives, because believe it or not, we have some information, and we have a lot of historical data about what's gone on. I personally have a copy of the plans that Mike Wooten drew up and brought them with me in case anybody wants to see them, that he submitted for the state and federal permits. I have a copy of his application for the state and federal permits. I have a copy of the state and federal permits that were issued. So it seems like a lot of the things are already in place for using this alternative that we're suggesting, and we honestly think that it would be better for the environment and more cost-effective for the citizens of Horry County. So we'd just like your consideration for that. Also, I brought with me something that I did not send via email that I'd like to have copied and shared with y'all. This is from the Environmental Protection Agency, and it's a graph with waste disposal from 1960 through 2015 with waste generation and waste disposal amounts. And what's very interesting is that from 1980 until 2015, the generation rate is practically flat on the graph. The disposal rate. The generation rate goes up, of course, but the disposal rate is practically flat in spite of the fact that population has increased greatly over that period of time. So that's a very promising thing and something that should be used for planning purposes. Thank you very much.
Again, thank you for your concerns, and we will take those concerns in consideration. Thank you. Okay, the agenda stays the same, but Mike has to do some, so we're gonna let Mike Besant go first and do the operations.
Thank you, and good evening. We're going to show the aerial video.
I thought we had got him squared away on that.
You got your new system coming, don't you, Mr. Besson?
We have to get some flags. Do we need a new system or a new operator? Which is it?
Take a look at the operator first. If you don't.
Yeah, always look at the operator first.
Those drones are watching you.
Oh, yeah.
Is that Blackwater Middle drive by there in a meeting, they can stop and make a six-trailer up every day, come back prior to the meeting.
No, let's skip that. Yes, sir, we need to skip it and just go back to the. Okay, all right, we're gonna try to get back to it in just a minute. We're gonna need a PowerPoint in just a minute. First of all, I want to recognize Quentin, if you'll stand up. Quentin takes care of our gas field up in our methane gas system, takes care of it. And on May 14th, he got his physical chemical license, so he is now licensed with physical and chemical. You have to have those in order to do the landfill and things that he works on out there. And it was kind of funny, we were talking about it afterwards, and he said, well, it wasn't as hard as I thought it was. I don't think anybody else in the room, Wayne, you or Stephanie will say that, but Quentin said he wasn't as hard as he thought it was. So, and him and Danny had a good conversation about it, but want to congratulate him on getting that, Joe.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
My response to Quentin was, you need to call DHEC and tell him you don't think you got your money's worth. Do me another test and double up on it. I want to feel like I've earned it, but.
That just means he's a smart young man.
We appreciate Quentin, and his wife teaches at Coastal, and they a good part of our community now, and we've learned to love Quentin. Welcome aboard.
Does an excellent job, that he does, and does well with it. Second of all, y'all, we had a fire here on the landfill on May 10th, and we got a picture of it. I got a call, this is on the C&D landfill, got a call about 12:30 from Wayne saying, we got a fire on the landfill, 12:30 in the middle of the night. Got a group of guys here that showed up. I left home and came straight here. Chris was pulling in the gate, opening the gate, pulling in. I think we all got here somewhere between, right before 1 o'clock. Everybody was on the ground working. There were guys here, and I want to call out, but this fire was out in less than an hour and 15 minutes after we were on site. Now, we wasn't completed with it, but we got the fire out and got it covered and got the fire completely out. That being called at 12:30 at night, 12 to 12:30 a.m., get up out of your bed and come out here and have that fire out. And some of them drove as far away as from Marion County, Green Sea, and they came in here and put this fire out. These guys did an excellent job in doing that. And I want to call them out, and if you would, please stand up. Ed Bell, he's from Gurley. If anybody knows where Gurley's at. Terry Parrott, he's from Britton's Neck. Mike Small, Conway. Lyle Strickland, he's from Green Sea. And John Doyle, he's from up there too. We got Chris from the big city of Mount Vernon. And of course, Wayne Martin is from Ainer, Cool Springs section of Ainer. Those guys did an excellent job in getting in here. It just really surprised me how quick they got it out. They knew what they were to do when they got here. They got on the equipment, and they just mobilized. They was on the hill. I drove in and went straight to the hill. And before I could drive back to the shop, there was already people on the hill. I mean, they knew exactly what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. Excellent job. They did an excellent job, and I want to give them a round of applause.
Mike, my letter to, about this thing is on page 79. And it takes employees like this to really make an organization as great as we got, and I think we got one of the best. Now, the guys voted to get John Doyle to speak for them, for the simple reason he's got laryngitis, so he ain't gonna say nothing so they can go home.
Yeah, some of them's been up since 4 o'clock this morning, so I'm sure they want to go home, and of course, anything y'all want to say before they leave.
Mike, I'd just like to say, I really appreciate on the behalf of the board, and other board members may have something to say, but being an old firefighter myself, it takes a lot fighting a fire. Never fought one on the landfill, but fighting fire is no easy job, and so they need to be really commended for putting out a fire like that within an hour and a half. So on behalf of the board, I really appreciate their efforts.
Yeah. I'd like to say that as scary as it is putting out a fire, I'm sure that it was more so here, not knowing what was there and what you were going to deal with, and to get here as quickly as you did, and to be that dedicated. I appreciate that very much. Thank you.
Gentlemen, we really do appreciate your efforts. Thank you so much.
It also shows preparation and good training to respond that quickly. Outstanding for all of you, but also outstanding for us to do the proper training and to prepare them for these events. Because we all know that this is the thing we worry about the most, the potential that we have for loss. And thank you for the response.
As a retired firefighter, I fought several of these over the 27 years I did it, and this is a lot harder than your average house fire that looks a lot flashier when you see it. But this is a strange animal here if you don't know what you're doing. It takes a special crew with special training to make it work like you guys did. Congratulations.
And I want to say thank you. And if y'all'd like to go home, I know I'll be to work early in the morning. You're more than welcome to go or more than welcome to stay, whichever one you want to do.
They've got a ways to travel.
Yeah. Our next one.
Mike, we'll give them just a few minutes.
Yeah, we'll give him.
Yeah, just,
All right, thank you. On the C&D recycling facility, I give you a report last month. We were down a little bit this month than we were. We only brought in about 1,234 tons compared to over 1,500 tons last month. We didn't have as many demolition houses coming in, so we were a little bit lower on what we got. I want to talk a little bit about the MRF. As you look at your reports, the MRF tonnage, compared to last year from Horry County, we brought in about 1,668 tons in last April in 18. This April, we brought in 1,829 tons. So we definitely got an increase in material coming into the MRF. Our prices are stagnant or down. UBC used beverage containers went up. Natural, which is milk jugs, dropped by $400 a ton in 1 month. We had colored plastics went down. PET remained the same. Steel went up a little bit. OCC still around the $40 number. We were talking about it. We were getting about $6,000 a truckload of cardboard last year this time. This month, we're getting about $1,000 a truckload. That's how far down fiber has gone. It's continued to go completely down. And everybody I talk to sees no changes in it for at least 2 years. It's going to be a tough 2-year ride. Lexington, Kentucky actually I was reading an article today that sent it out and said we're no longer taking any fiber. We can't get rid of it. We're taking no fiber.
Is 2 years as far as they'll look out, Or what do they see in 2 years that might be a different?
They're thinking there'll be enough mills built here in the U.S. that will actually pick up, the material volumes will go up, the demand will go up, and then it'll come back up.
So that's the lag time to get prepared.
Yeah, a lot of your mills is moving to other countries out of China, and they're moving here to America. And as they do, it's just taking some time to get it wrapped up. We don't see much of a change, and that's our biggest volume is the cardboard. You know, of that 1,800 tons that you're talking about that's coming in, half of that's cardboard. We did have a PET marketer that tried to get us to sell all of their PET for a year. They came out and visited our facility, and he said it was the best material that he'd received, and he wanted to see how we were doing it. He complimented us, and then he came back and said, well, we want to buy it for a year. And I said, well, if you want to buy it for a year, bid higher every month. You can get it. So our PET is pretty stable and pretty good. Our rejects rate, remember when Charleston, we received from Charleston, our reject rate was running about 30% or higher, sometimes as high as 35%. When the material was coming out of Charleston, even though we were shipping everything but 14.5% back, our reject rate is running at 15%. So we got it back down. Remember, it's 14.5%. We kept here, and the rest of it went back to Charleston. Well, we're running at 15% right now. So we're back to pretty close to what we were prior to Charleston on our reject rate. Okay, let's see. There you go. Our MRF building, as you can see, we're fixing they were actually supposed to start on it today. This is the ramp that we put in, and they have closed the side of the buildings on, but the building, when it's completed, will come out to about right here, and they're supposed to start on that this week. And as soon as they said it'd take them about 2 weeks to get it put up. So it should be back up by the time we have our next board meeting. But this ramp sure has saved us a lot of time. Remember, we used to have to take these electronics and carry them all the way back up to the MRF to load them on a truck. Now we back the truck up right there and load them. So it makes it a whole lot more efficient.
Are we using tractor trailers to store currently?
Sir?
Are we using tractor trailers to store what we would have had in there currently?
We've got everything shipped. We've made everything shipped where it'd be vacant. Everything has been shipped. We've been shipping pretty fast. The only thing we having problems getting rid right now and not able to get rid at all is the C&D recycling cardboard. And we do have a plan to try to get rid of some of that, but we haven't sold any there in about 3 months. Nobody wants it. Nobody's buying it. But we do have a plan to try to move that material over the next few months. Cardboard is a hard thing to move right now, cardboard and newspaper. The collection and hauling system, we were having a good many backing accidents, accidents with our drivers, which was making me sit in front of the safety committee at least once a week, it felt like. So we decided to take action to try to help that. So we have purchased a system, and this is a camera system. This is 2 views. So this is the view of the driver. So as he's sitting there operating, there's a live view. At any point in time, we can go to the computer and watch him operating that vehicle. This is actually at Socastee High School. So as he's driving, you can see how he's driving. One of the good things about this is we get a lot of claims a lot of times, well, you messed up my fence. You messed up my gate. The driver said, well, it was damaged. Why? When I got there, it was already damaged. Or I didn't do that. Now there's a picture of it. When he comes and there's some damage there, he pushes a button. That button takes a picture of it, sends that picture to us, and we put it in a file. So when the customer calls us back and says, the gate's damaged, this is damaged, you done this, you done, we got a live view of it at all times. So we think that's going to help us out a lot. To give you an example, Waste Management said one of the biggest savings it was for them was over at the beach, and all of us has had that experience where a car weaves in front of you and slams on brakes. This will show it up. It'll show whose fault it is.
So Mike, is this a live feed all the time?
Live feed all the time.
And that follows the driver where he's going, and does it stamp date the pictures?
Yes, stamp date and time.
Okay.
How long do we plan on keeping the files?
So, sir,
How long do we plan on keeping the files?
they'll stay on a cloud server until we delete them. It's part of our
Do you have
monthly
a
thing.
plan of how long that we will, because it gets expensive if you keep storing.
Yeah. Right now, they've given us unlimited server storage, so we're gonna keep them on there as long as we have, as long as they tell us different.
As long as we're getting
As long as you don't have
I'm
to pay.
sure they'll change that at some point in time.
If you don't have to pay for them, keep them.
Yeah.
right.
As you know, the drivers, whoa, I went all the way. All right, come on. There we go. So the drivers are always in tight spaces working. And we've got cameras in the trucks, but the backup cameras on the back of the trucks, but it's hard to see sometimes exactly how close you are to something. So we put this gadget on there. It's on the tailgate of all the trucks now, and this is sitting on the dash. So as he gets closer to it, it keeps getting louder. So it's like your car. You back up and it starts beeping. So now they got an audio that tells them how close they are to something as they're backing up, or if something's coming to them, that they'll be aware of it if they're backing out somewhere. So that was fairly reasonable. That system was about $1,500. We thought that was one accident more than pay for it. Mr. Allman, Allman, he corrected us. Mr. Allman, he's our driver of the month, the employees picked. He works with them. He works out of Lakewood Campground. We had this as all man, had a D on it. He called us and corrected us that I am an all man. So he's definitely one of our drivers that was picked by the employees on the landfill for driver of the month. Oop, that's me. One other thing, we want to talk about a couple project updates. As you were aware, we had several projects going on last month. We've got the Piggyback Phase 3 project still moving forward. We have got the, hold on one more. Piggyback Phase 3 project. We have got the demonstrated needs and consistency that DHEC has viewed them. And so we're working on the Class 2 permit construction and the Class 3 landfill. And the 1187 Borough area, we're working on all that. Those projects are still in motion, still moving. The scale house repair, we are working on the scale house. Remember, y'all gave us some money to do the scale house with. The contract will hopefully be awarded sometime this week. Greenwall Construction was the cheapest bidder on it, the low bid. And we are working to make sure everything's, to get that completed. We got meetings tomorrow and should be able to finish that up sometime this week and get that moving on the scale house. One of our scales, our inbound scales that we were having trouble with finally went out. It's done. It's no longer operating. So we're having to use the portable scales that we purchased last year during the storm.
The foundation went out.
Yeah, the foundation went out. The scales are still good. It's just the foundation finally gave away to the point that it's not usable anymore, and it's not fixable. So we had to make some arrangements up there to get it fixed in a way that we could operate and get the drivers and get their tickets to them. One last thing I didn't talk about, it just got done today. I'll tell you about it. We've got when we open up early in the morning and we open the sail up, when we remove the cover from the we have to put alternative daily cover on it at night. But when we crack that thing open early in the morning, there's typically some odor coming from it because it's been sitting there all night. We have installed a fogger system that will be timed to come on before the landfill opens up. It's a neutralizer is what it is. It's not a deodorizer. It's a neutralizer, and it works. It works. It's really surprised me how good it works. And so it'll come on in the morning time before we open up and run till about 8 o'clock. So give us time to take care of any odor issues that we may have out there to make sure we don't get it out in the public. We only have those issues when it's real foggy in the morning, but we're hoping this will take care of it.
And this stuff works. Rich told me if they bring a bulldozer in off the landfill into the shop, and all the stuff's up under it in the belly pans and everything, he actually takes this stuff, sprinkles it around, and it gets the odor. It works that good. And I told Mike that I passed the other morning, and there's a buzzard sitting on the fence with his wing up, and that thing blowing under its wing.
Well, that's gonna be a problem, because the buzzers are not gonna be able to detect anything now, because they're usually detected by smell, so. Are we using it all over the landfill, or just where we take the covers off?
Give you what we did. If y'all remember, if you've been out of the landfill lately, but there's a fence line over the top of the fence around the top of the road on the landfill that catches litter, that blows across. We have put it over the top of that fence line, and it's a fogger, so if the wind's blowing this direction, it'll blow it that way. No matter whatever it does, it's gonna blow it towards the landfill, or the odor's gonna come to it, the wind's gonna blow it. We also installed a weather station up there to be able to tell what direction the wind's coming from, what way, what the temperature is, and how much rainfall.
Well, that's good, ma'am.
That is a good thing, because I think odor is a big problem, obviously, on a landfill and to the people that are around it. And we've looked at a lot of different things and whatever, but we definitely do need to keep a check on that, make
Yep.
sure we're doing a good job of it.
Well, we know the weather station, and we can call it up on our telephone and get the direction of the wind. And if somebody up here at the church complains about odor, all we gotta do is look at it, and the wind is blowing this way, ain't no way it's a landfill. So, and it keeps a record, and I think we follow those complaints, we see what the wind speed, what the weather was, and if there's a certain time that it's showing up, we can always set these timers, these pumps that will come on at different times, so.
We know as I ride down 17 bypass in Myrtle Beach, that's not us.
That's right, yeah.
Well, Mike, you must be doing a good job, because the deodor detector is my wife. Because when she comes through here at 6:30 or 5:30 in the morning, I get a call back and say, you need to do something about the solid waste odor. So she hasn't called in the last couple of weeks, so evidently it must be working.
Working.
Yeah.
We've been running around with a pickup truck now.
So I want to thank you.
You're
At
welcome.
least I can sleep another hour. We're ready for Esther. Thought you was hiding back there.
Good evening.
Good afternoon.
My report begins on page 17. However, I want to start this evening with recognizing one of our high school scholarship recipients, Mr. Austin Randall. Austin was unable to make our April board meeting because he had a track meet. So he was able to come tonight, and I did want to introduce him to you all. He's a soon-to-be graduate of Myrtle Beach High School and plans on attending Coastal Carolina University in the fall. But I do want to give Austin the opportunity to come up and address the board if he likes to do so.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
I just want to thank y'all for this wonderful opportunity. And as she said, I couldn't make it in the April meeting because I had a regional track meet. So I just want to thank y'all again for the solid waste scholarship.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
One question for Mr. Austin.
Daddy can't stand up.
Did you win the
Yes.
track meet?
Yes, sir.
Good.
Yes, sir.
All right, yeah, uh-huh.
And if it's okay, my father would like a picture with.
All right.
You're gonna be on the track team at Coastal? Good.
And we do appreciate you guys. I serve on a couple boards in Horry County, and I know how important it is to let the public know what a great job you guys are doing. And I told him I was going to ask you guys if he would stand at the end of the table I would take a picture and share it on my Facebook and Twitter, because people need to know what these boards are doing, and you do an outstanding job. And he did win the track meet. They actually went on to, he went to the States a couple weeks ago, and as you guys know, he is one of the state champions from Myrtle Beach High 2018 football team. He was the starting corner.
Well,
All right.
congratulations.
Congratulations.
Yes, sir. Woo!
You guys will look this way. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Esther, when can we invite them back?
Anytime, you're always welcome, always welcome.
Man, congratulations on
I just want a picture when he gets in the NFL.
it. Yeah.
I want tickets. Okay, I'm just saying.
And Pammy got the memo.
Jerome was on.
Thank you, awesome, appreciate it. And y'all are more than welcome to stay, or if you want to escape, I understand. Either way.
Okay, great. Listen, y'all be
Thank
good.
y'all,
Thank you,
appreciate it.
thank you.
Take care now.
Okay.
Good guy.
Good. I found him. I hadn't seen him. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, on page 18, I want to begin with an update on the fiscal year 2018 annual progress report. As you know, Horry County is required to report annually to DHEC the amount of municipal solid waste recycled in Horry County. We began this process back in the fall. Annual report was completed and published in April. We did get our emailed copy and reviewed it. The state's MSW recycling rate did decrease slightly from 28.7% to 28.1%. In reviewing Horry County's MSW recycling rate, we did see a decrease. The fiscal year 17 recycling rate was 35.56%. Fiscal year 2018 was 27.6%. Whether there's an increase or decrease in our recycling rate, we always go back to try to determine what may have caused the fluctuation, especially if it's a large one. And looking at and comparing the figures from one fiscal year to the other, the most significant decreases were in organics. And then we just have to think about what happened, what may have happened that could have swayed it. Well, in fiscal year 17, there was a little hurricane called Matthew that generated a large amount of organic waste or debris. In fiscal year 18, we did have Florence, but it did not generate the amount of organic waste that happened with Matthew. So there was our significant decrease in organic material that was disposed of. In addition, there was a decrease of over 18,000 tons in the commercial institutional metal commodities. Again, we go back to look and see. When we're looking at that, though, we're looking more so at if there may have been someone who did not report. And that was the case with regard to metals. We had a commercial vendor in Horry County who did not report his tonnage. It was a very large one. So that swayed the report. We then looked at the total solid waste recycling rate. That compares not just MSW recycling, but also C&D recycling. It's a diversion rate, basically, material that was not put in the landfill. Again, there was a significant decrease in Horry County. Fiscal year 17, our total solid waste recycling rate was 33.69%. In 2018, it was 19.16%. This required me calling DHEC because I could not determine, based on the information that we have, because this rate also looks at material that may have been generated in Horry County, but possibly disposed of in another county. And that was the end result there. Santee Cooper hauled out 290,000 tons of processed material. I can't tell you what the processed material was because that's how it was classified as processed material. It was taken to their landfill in Berkeley County. It was generated here, but disposed of in Berkeley County. So that particular material was what swayed that rate for this particular year. I like to always remind you that our DHEC requires that counties report. Businesses are not required to report. So this recycling rate will always be swayed until such time as everyone is required to report across the board.
Is there a list of the 143? Do we have a list of the total is 143 people that can or cannot report? And you have here that there are 2 that were sent back to us.
Well, that was
Jen?
back in October, when I gave you the report in October. That's where we're at that point in October. I can let you know how many of the 143 that we know of that reported. We can let you know that.
Do you have a list of the 143?
We have a list of those who we contact.
Who you contact?
And then they have the option to report to us, or they can report directly to DHEC.
Okay.
If
But
we
they
have-
don't have to do either?
No, ma'am.
Okay. I'd like to have a list of the whole 143. I'd like to see them.
I believe it puts them at a competitive disadvantage if they're.
Well, I understand that.
By others.
Yeah,
But it also puts the county, when we have to put everything of ours out to private too. And frankly, I think they all ought to have to report if we do, but
Yes,
I know it isn't done, but I'd like to see the list.
And then the
And-
counties have a different reporting. Have we standardized yet statewide?
There is a standard statewide for counties to report.
Because there wasn't. Good.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And I will say, Ms. Creech, that a part of the reporting mechanism that DHEC has in place for businesses indicate that the numbers that they report, their figures, won't be shared with others. However, I can definitely give you the list.
Okay, I'd like to see that. There are a lot of different, I'm not gonna say a lot, there are some different ways private industry operate differently than public has to do, which I think is an unfair advantage for that. I do understand to a degree why. But just like LLCs, we don't operate as LLCs. We can't leave everybody in the lurch and that kind of thing.
Yes,
But
ma'am.
I would like to see that list.
Yes, ma'am.
Esther, one other question.
Mm-hmm.
Do we know if they report directly to the state, do the state let us know who those people are? Or
Yes,
they do?
sir. If we
So-
call and ask them, did this company
Okay.
report because we don't see it,
Okay.
they will tell us. Yes,
Okay.
sir. Okay, next, DHEC grant update. We are in the grant season. We did apply for 4 grants this year. In my report, it says the grants total $216,120. That's incorrect. The correct total is $211,645. We will hopefully have information back from DHEC in the next couple of weeks on the status of these grants. Usually happens right after the first part of June. We'll find out what grants we may have been awarded. So we'll let you know once we know. Talking trash update. We had our 2 of 3 grand finales last week. We had South Conway Elementary School and Daisy Elementary School at the Fun Warehouse last week. In total, we have about 350 students going on the grand finale field trip this year. All very excited, all doing an excellent job in their recycling efforts as well as their diversion and sustainability projects. So just some pictures that were in your packet. The only one who hasn't gone yet is Kingston Elementary, and they're going Thursday. If anybody is interested in going, just let me know. We can work it out for you. We got T-shirts. I got T-shirts.
Where they going?
They're going to the Fun Warehouse down in Surfside.
Oh, okay.
You can roller skate, or you can
Get roller skating and get a shirt?
you can get
Don't
a
I
get a
get
shirt.
excited?
We'll feed you pizza.
What time are they going?
You can leave about 9 o'clock that morning with us, and then there's a meeting that day.
That's a meeting, thank you.
Sorry.
You got me out.
Almost had you there, almost had you there. Almost.
T-shirts.
You can bring me a T-shirt.
I can get you a T-shirt. I can do that. I can get you a T-shirt. Our Clark Green Handle recipient for the month of April was Miss Laurie Wells. She's an avid recycler at the Longs Recycling Center. Very, very, very excited about winning and being recognized and enjoying her prize pack. There are two other things I just want to mention to you before I take my seat. The first, you should have received an email from the Myrtle Beach Art Museum regarding their Can't You See Ocean Artifacts exhibit. They are having a preview show on Friday, June 14th from 5:30 to 7:30. If you plan on attending, if you let me know, I'll just RSVP for you. I will be there that night. The exhibit opens on Saturday, the 15th. I will be there that day. And they'll unveil the octopus that was created by Mr. Jim Swain at that time. So if anybody wants to go, just see me after the meeting, and I'll make sure I get you responded. Last but not least, Keep Horry County Beautiful conducted their free tarp giveaway this past month, and I know they finished on this past Saturday. Mr. Bowe, if you want to offer some comments on how you all did.
We handed out 500 tarps at 5 locations over the month of May. I will tell you that I have new respect for our staff manning these recycling centers at 93 degrees. An hour and a half, I was ready to go home. They had to stay there. And I do appreciate them for the work that they do, and they were very hospitable to us, offering us their umbrellas and their best chairs while they had to suffer the heat. But thank you very much. Also, the Horry County Police participated in this. It isn't just an aesthetic issue, it's a safety issue. Debris falling from vehicles that are taking the garbage to our recycle centers, and the mile to our 24 centers is the most littered mile. And we're going to be working on some enhanced enforcement of our TARP laws to try to get more compliance. But right now, we're gifting TARPs to get the message across before we come down on the hammer on the enforcement.
Yes.
But right now, they're concentrating their efforts on Highway 90 and the commercial loads that are violating our TARP laws. And then we'll concentrate on residential
Yes,
waste.
sir.
But we really had the terrific participation from all of our recycle centers. Thank you.
Very good, very good.
Carl?
Prior to Esther Murphy taking her seat, because she said she's about ready to do that, as long as we're talking about trash and public relations, whatever else, I'd like to call the board's attention and all of the citizens of Horry County to what an outstanding job she did on Channel 15 one night at 11 o'clock. I realize a lot of people don't stay up 11 o'clock and watch the news, but when you get to be my age and you suffer from boredom, you do a lot of crazy things, and that's one of them. And I had the fortunate opportunity to see an outstanding presentation by Esther Murphy regarding talking trash, or keeping Horry County beautiful, and recycling, and everything else. Great job, Esther.
Thank you, Mr. Bowe. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
I don't know if anybody else got to see it, but
I didn't.
if you have the opportunity, I definitely encourage you to do it, because she did a fantastic job.
Thank you.
Thank you. Finance?
Get to go last tonight. The financial reports begin on page 25. We are now through 10 months of the year, getting down to the end of our year we are. We should be at about 83% of budget. As you can see, our tipping fees with our solid waste is running at 86.82% of budget, mixed construction at 89.59% of budget, and yard waste at 84.47% of budget. So all well above budget, which is great. As you can see, overall, the tipping fees as compared to last year this time, we're seeing a 10.12% increase over last year, which is great. And tipping fees overall are running at 88.99% of budget. So again, staying well above budget, which is great. Recyclable sales, as Mike mentioned to you earlier, of course, they're only at 61.02% of budget. And of course, we all know that has to do with the sale of with the prices. The C&D processing facility has saved just slightly over 50 days of landfill airspace so far this year. Our materials recycling facility, along with the collection and hauling program, has saved 67.52 days of landfill airspace. And of course, the store is at the 0.0033% of landfill airspace.
Thank you for adding that.
You're welcome, and then we'll continue to have that on there. Hopefully we'll continue to see that grow. But as you can see, both of those programs doing exactly what we want them to do, saving a great deal of landfill airspace so far year to date. On page 28 is the income statement. As you can see, the net income for the month has got revenue over expenses of $151,989.65. And year to date, we have revenue over expenses of $3,159,568.74. As you can see, our revenue is overall total revenue is running at 84.82%, and our expenses are at 73.27%, which is great. Usually we see those really close together, especially as we get towards the end of the year. Again, I like to continue to thank staff every time because they're the ones that are holding those expenses, watching everything. And like I said, we've had, as Mike's mentioned, Esther's mentioned, we've got a lot of projects, a lot of different things going on this time of year. So they're doing a great job to continue to watch and hold things at all possible. We've been doing a lot of maintenance around the building here, so we're glad to see that staff's.
And we've been holding personnel expenses.
Yes, sir, we have, exactly. So, like I said, they're doing a great job, and they continue to monitor that every month. So I commend staff on that. On page 32, just taking a brief look at kind of where the tonnages are as compared to last year this same time. And as you can see, our solid waste, 6.84% increase over last year. Our yard waste at 14.18%, and our mixed construction at 16.5% over where we were last year this time. That's the only thing I have on the financial reports. Just to give you kind of a brief update on where we are with FEMA. We have submitted our reports to FEMA requesting reimbursement on our scales project where we had to purchase the temporary scales. Also on the road where we had to, Mike put in that temporary road. And then we had a dewatering project where we had those borrow pits that had filled up and we were getting the water out. So all three of those projects have been submitted to FEMA. We're still in the process of kind of going back and forth. They constantly are asking for more information. But that's kind of where we are. Hopefully next month I'll have a little bit more information from you on where we will be on those projects. But they're all considered a small project, so hopefully the turnaround time won't be as great with the smaller projects, so we're told.
On small projects, there's a potential for 100% reimbursement.
No, only 75%.
I think the maximum is 81.
Right, yes, sir. And so, like I said, this has been a learning experience for sure. I've never gone through this before in my time here, so we've definitely learned a lot. It's a lot more detailed than I thought for sure. I understand why it can be so tasking for sure. So, but like I said, we've had some good help. Mike's been a great help to me as well to get the information together. So I'll continue to kind of update you as to where we are on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Knight?
Thank you. Our report starts on page 54 with the update on the SWANA, South Carolina Palmetto Chapter convention that was held at Pawleys Island. A big concern is safety concerns, and the solid waste business is still the 5th most dangerous occupation in the world. Industrial fishing is number one. Of course, we saw a workshop on truck cameras this year. I saw it last year. And as you saw what Mike's doing on the trucks, I think that's going to help us in the keeping some of our drivers out of the safety meetings. And if somebody has a wreck, they have to go in front of the safety council, and the safety committee mets out the fines or guilty or not guilty. So we're doing everything in the world we can to keep accidents down. Number two is young professionals, thank goodness, are getting more involved. They have been workshops, and you folks that were there saw that. Environmental issues, we saw the cleanup of the tires in Berkeley County, over $3 million. And that costs us too. That's the money DHEC had. And one of the things I picked up out of that whole issue, DHEC had no way of stopping tires going to that plant, even though they knew they were not going to chip them or do anything with them. And so hopefully the legislator will give them some way of stopping these things. And there's one up in the western part of the state's got to be cleaned up also. So that was an ugly sight with that aerial photo of all those tires, and the building was full too.
That was one thing that was really amazing to me for DHEC to say and show what that looked like, and over 1 million tires. It was a health hazard and a lot of other things in that area. But
Fire hazard.
but DHEC was not given any teeth against the private industry to close it down, even though all of those things was going on. That's ridiculous.
And they knew it was going on.
Yeah.
And right back of that warehouse that you saw was houses. I mean, they were right there in the backyard. We also heard discussion from North Carolina State, NENA, which is the DHEC in North Carolina, about quality issues that they're having on the Cape Fear River and Neuse River. And matter of fact, we're developing a packet of information on that stuff now, the Teflon, and it's EPA is doing all they can do to catch up and try to figure out what it is and how you can best handle it and test for it. So we've got some information pulled together. Actually got a tape movie that was presented and shown on TV. I've got that in my office. I haven't looked at it yet. But Art Braswell did an update on the South Carolina legislature. And Julie Blaylock now is the director of the division, and I think she's going to do a great job. It sounds like she's got some great ideas. And we also heard about the push in the legislature of the gasification of plastics and trying to get involved in that thing to see who it was that was pushing it. If you go online and pull up American Chemical Council, everything you hear that's good with plastic, they've generated it. And they're pushing every state to pass this legislation that will allow it, and it's just a blanket. I think Georgia's done. I think Texas was the last one that did it in this term, and our legislature was close. It's in committee now, and it'll be back up coming out of the gates. But all you got to do is go to this American Chemical Council and look at nothing but their press releases, and it's amazing how good plastic is for the environment.
This one snuck up on us because our lobbyist wasn't informing us about this. I hope this is going to be followed then.
She was following it. She
Oh,
knew.
she was,
Yeah,
okay.
she knew about it.
I missed it then,
and
until
she
the
was-
very end.
I don't think she knew we hadn't told
We
her
weren't
we
fighting it, yeah.
weren't fighting it. But it was, once you read it, I think it needs to be interacted with.
Well,
Because I don't think it's gonna be a good law to have private industry in here burning plastics and not fall under some rules
Well,
and
they're
regulations.
they're out of under the scope of DHEC, and that is I think everyone that's doing anything it needs to have some kind of oversight, other than the American Chemical Council.
Especially if they're incinerating plastic, and that's what they're doing.
And you'll read the press conferences, how much fuel they generate from this and how many jobs they generate and how great it is, and really how great plastic bags are. So go to that. I think our chapter is getting bigger and bigger. There are more young people getting involved. It was a good showing. The bag bill, INR is one of the better INR committee meetings that I've been to. I thank Councilman Norton Bellamy for pushing this thing, and I think Mr. Bill Howard's comments on his use of paper bags in his restaurant did a great deal with them sending something on to county council for approval. and we put together the ordinances out of Charleston, Berkeley, the counties that has passed it, North Myrtle Beach. So, and we'll do what we can do to help them put together those ordinances. League of Cities is meeting June the 20th at Surfside Fire Department, and that's when they will discuss their appointment to the Solid Waste Authority, and of course, Mr. Schwarzkopf is in that slot now, and but that meeting will be end of June, and council meetings got one meeting in July and one meeting in August, so we're going to encourage the league to go ahead and whatever they decide at that meeting, let's get it to county council. Fund 6, or the recycling centers, that was as I told Steve, that was one of the best presentations I've seen on the budget process since I've been involved with government in Ouray County. Barry just did a great job, and I'm sure Steve and his crowd put it together where it was more simple, more, we're recommending this instead of kind of down your throat type approach, but they had second reading. They've approved a 4.4% increase for the county employees. It's a cost of living, and it just pushes the scale up 4.4%. Now, the public safety side of the house has got some gimmicks in it on longevity or up to, I think, a $5,000, but we won't be involved in that. But we've got 3.5% budgeted in our budget already. And it would be my recommendation to go ahead and give the employees, especially the center employees, they didn't get anything last year. But it'd be my recommendation to offer our employees the same percentage that county council is approved in second reading for their employees. Bottom line will be the same. We're not adding any more money to the budget. There's 3.5% already there, and we'll come up with the other part and with the about 15 different departments that we've got. It ranges from each department from 1,800 to the unincorporated is 16.5. So a total is about $86,000 to come up with that additional. Bottom line's the same. We'll shift the line items around to where the employees can get the same thing that the county employees are doing it, and of course that'd be your decision. It'd be my recommendation. There's no changes in the bottom line. Go ahead.
I can understand that and everything, but I'd like to see where the 86 is coming from and the difference in those things. I understand that the county did that, but that's not what we were planning on. And at the last convention, as you said, a lot of the air testing and so forth, we're fixed to be faced with a lot of different bills and a lot of different things in the future, and it's not going to be that far down that line. So before I would do that, I'd want to know where the money came from.
I think it's unusual that Fund 6 is going to be bailed out by the increase in license fees to commercial outfits. And Fund 6 is the fund that's used to refund us for the maintenance of the recycle centers that are dedicated to residential customers, because it's basically has been funded by residential property taxes. Now that they're opening up and using other fees to fund Fund 6, does that jeopardize our policy of residential only? Question.
That's county council policy. They've approved that initially, and there's more different fees involved. I think they raised the taxes a little bit for public safety because somebody done a poll on it, but but for recreation and for, Fund 6, it was, additional fees and things like that. There's more than one fee increase, in that process. But we can certainly show, where those dollars will come from in each department and get it back to you, but
It's county policy that we follow through on, so they're
No.
really the ones that direct us on who to.
well,
Is that,
that, the center, we hire those people. They're our employees per se, but it's county funds, millage that pays for them. And it does the tipping fees and for the grass cutting and everything there. We sort of a management firm for, the centers. But their money will be in Fund 6 in that budget. And we will just show you where the other funds come from. And if that's not acceptable, then we don't do it.
Would we not also bill that 86,000 to Fund 6? If we're raising their salaries?
No,
No.
no, all of it's not Fund 6, just $16,000 of it is Fund 6, 16.5
Okay,
is across the fence.
okay,
The other part is our part,
okay.
So we don't have to worry about 70 of it.
yeah. But we'll pretty much, each one of these departments, we'll show where the increase, where the money is gonna come from, and it's gonna be somewhere in operation, holding, positions open, holding the line. As you saw, the expense account, expenses is way under 83%. They're in the 70%, so we're holding the expenditures side of it. Tipping fees are up above the 80-some%, so we'll put that together.
so only 16,500 comes from the fund?
Fund, yeah,
Fund
Fund
6.
Fund 6, yeah,
From the
Comes from
county.
yeah.
And we'll be responsible for the remaining part, is what
We
you're
got
saying?
70,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
For the
got
70,000.
We got
Right.
70.
From the administration, finance, public information, landfill division, yard waste division, C&D division, C&D recycling division, the maintenance shop, the MRF, collection and hauling. That's the different departments. And they gonna have to generate their funds to be, and I've told them it's all or none. We're all gonna get it or nobody's gonna get it. But I think the centers need to get theirs because they didn't get any kind of increase last year.
You got something?
Yeah, I think that's a lot of money, but I think if you look at the turnover of employees here, if you look at the quality of what we have, I want to be careful and not save $1 and lose $5, because they work very hard at keeping our budget where it is. They've done an exceptional job. We heard that tonight about the fire, and I think that's a group that should be protected, because I think they've helped get us to where we are now, and I think they'll help keep us here.
Any one of those guys that was here tonight could go to a private contractor tomorrow and make more money. Steve's having trouble finding operators. Everybody's having trouble finding operators. They're stealing them from each other, offering them $1 an hour or $20 an hour more. And mechanics, it's the same situation. And Mr. Johnson can probably attest to that.
Sanders Brothers in Charleston is paying a $10,000 bonus for operator sign-on.
Yeah, and don't you think they won't go? I had one at Public Works to leave and go to a private site for a nickel on the hour and lose insurance.
Oh, that's,
So now, I'm not saying they're the smartest people in the world, but there's a demand, there's a demand out there right now for them. And we need to,
Well-
that's gonna be y'all's decision.
I agree with Northfleet, because I think I can look at both ways when we're talking about taking 70,000 out of the budget. We really need to make sure that that doesn't impact those departments when we bring that money out of there. But we also need to stay competitive with what's going on in the marketplace. Because what's gonna happen is we're gonna lose good employees. And what happens there is you lose performance. And when you lose performance, you have problems on the job. And when you have problems on the job, you're gonna incur expenses. So you gotta look at both sides of the figure. It's 4.4% increase for people who may not have had any, that gives them a morale to continue to do a great job, worth more than not giving it to them and risk the fact of losing those people and bringing in new people and trying to train them, or have the trickle-down effect that says we start going downhill with our performance, with our training, with our safety, and those kinds of things. So we have to look at a broader picture. It's not just X dollars. I know when I was at Coastal, they'd give you a raise and you'd bring home less money
oh, yeah.
than you had when you were there. So your morale went down. So you got to stay in a competitive market. And like Danny said, these people can go anywhere because it's an employee's market now. These folk has the opportunity to go. They don't have to stay.
As I mentioned previously, handing out these tarps at 5 of our recycle centers, I can tell you those folks work hard, and that isn't the most pleasant place to be working.
I
And those
know.
conditions aren't the most conditions to be working under, and we do need to keep their morale up because turnover is expensive.
Well, I come down here all the time. These folk are working hard. And it is a hard, hot job. And the people you run into, you won't believe. People, I don't know where these people come from. Must be the water they're drinking. Because they have some of the nastiest attitudes that you can imagine out here on these sites. I wouldn't want to do it. That's for sure. I may have to. I may apply.
You would say, man, I want-
Especially if my squash keeps going to the bad. But that's my take. We just need to look and make sure that we do the right thing for those people and that we don't get caught up in the short term. We need to look for the long term.
Mr. Chairman, that's my report.
All right? We didn't have any committee reports. There is no old business. Anybody got any old business? No rehashing of nothing? Good. So we'll go to new business. And that brings us to the 2020 budget consideration.
Yes, I've just got for you to approve the 2020 operating budget totaling $25,186,668, and the 2020 capital improvement budget totaling $12,894,300. We've gone through our normal process with our budget workshop. We had our public hearing. It was presented at county council. It is in their budget as well. And so I'm just asking your approval tonight for our budget, so we'll have it in place come July 1st.
I hereby make a motion that the budget projection be approved as submitted.
Second.
Been properly moved in second. Any discussion? All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, and your budget has been approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nominating committee appointment. We need to get a slate of officers for the upcoming year, and so I need to get a committee together. I'm going to ask Mr. Sam Johnson to chair that committee, and I'm going to ask Ms. Pam Creech and Mr. Michael Campbell to be on time when he calls the meeting to work with Sam.
I like to meet during lunch.
That's good.
All right. So Sam, if you will let Esther know when you guys schedule the meeting, she'll need to know so that she can advertise for it.
We can meet in the back room.
I've told my
Where's
Outback.
Dick?
Knowing Sam, he probably wants to meet at Ned's or at Shorty's.
you mean Outback?
Well,
Outback?
Outback, yeah.
Okay. Well, if I'd have known that it was gonna be eaten, I may have put somebody else on there.
We can fix hamburgers down
You pitch them out there. Okay, roundtable discussion. Yes, sir.
The North Myrtle Beach Chamber invited us to a presentation, and it was really enlightening to see a program that was started from one of our grants so well accomplished. And I thought that was tremendous to get that feedback of how well a grant program was received and how well they carried out their mission. And we don't often get enough reporting back of how those are doing. If at the end of this fiscal year, we could get a summary report of how successful our grant programs were, I'd like to hear some of the successes. But that was really a neat experience.
Good. And I think Esther and her staff did a great job in their presentations, and it went well. And there's Esther,
Esther,
another kudos.
Another nod.
yeah.
And Mr. Bell, it is on for the next month, board meeting. I was waiting till the final reports were all in, and they'll all be in next week.
Great. Thank you, ma'am.
Our educational department did a great job, a great presentation, had a lot of participation from, and they put on a good show for them, sure did. Matter of fact, I think we got some requests from some of the businesses to come talk to them. I think Kendra and Victoria to come make a presentation, so
They were
it turned out well.
Yeah. And I think, we also got some interest in maybe doing some landfill tours.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was all kinds of interest. It was a good activity, good fun, a good meeting, yes.
You got something?
I was just gonna say, there's a lot in the past that had to do with C&D landfill that has been brought up, and different things with us looking at the second, third and fourth piggyback. And a lot of information that I don't have, a lot of information that I'm sure some of the newer board members don't have, but I think we always need a plan A and a B. And I'm definitely not saying we need to stop what we're doing. We need to continue with the permitting process we're doing. But I would like to be familiar with all of the questions, paperwork, looking at those questions and whatever on what we're doing as far as 1187 or the permitting that we're doing. So I don't know if people want to do discussions on that, if we want to see, you've done an excellent job of answering questions, but I would like to see all of the questions and things that are discussed on those different.
And that's not a problem, and I'd like to see that as well, but I remember that now that we talk about it, my best buddy was with me, and I think I'm on his list. I guess I'm on his good list now, I probably was on his bad list then. Back in 2001, when all of this started, there was a lot of opposition to that. General Vaught, myself, was one of the key leaders in oppositions to that. A lot of things have changed since then. I don't think it's going to be any better. I think the opposition is going to be even stronger than it was at that time. I'm not saying that we don't need to look at it, but it's one thing that we have to remember. We get a lot of things to look at, and all of these things take time. And time is of an essence to get anything done. I'm not saying that we shouldn't have a plan B, and we should look at it. And I've been talking to Danny. I'd like for him to look at that and go back through and see whether or not, according to him, we did not have a permit, and I don't think we did, because we fought getting it permitted by big time. We had meetings down in the county, we had meetings here, and the residents was really against it. And there's a lot of things changed since that time. We say we're gonna save $20 million. Things have changed since 2001. I'm not a landfill engineer. I don't know if that figure is accurate. I don't know if we move a C&D landfill to 1187, whether it's gonna cost me more money or less money. I don't know that, but I would certainly like to have the experts look at it. Now, I will say that the expert that the county said is Art Bradwell, who made a presentation to the county that the piggyback that we're looking at is one of the best options that we have. Now, that's coming from the top person who is supposed to be recognized as a top engineer in the state. And so I don't know what's going to be different on the piggyback from the 1187 if we want to move a C&D. And the other thing is, I thought that one of the primary reasons is that we were supposed to use every inch of space that we had on the existing landfill before we tried to move to another landfill. And that's one of the reasons we did not start looking at moving somewhere else. Okay, so whether that still exists, I'll have to refer that to Danny. I don't know, but I think it does. But,
Vance did inform us that's.
but he did inform us about that, so,
I
You know, I don't know.
agree with everything you've just said.
Yeah.
And even if it saved us 20 million, it would have to cost us so many million to
Well,
start another one. So
yeah.
all of that has to be looked at,
Right.
and it's gonna all have to be looked at in upcoming public reviews and
Right,
whatever.
yeah, and all
I
the-
just think the board
and
needs to
you're
be
right,
real up on
because
that.
those questions will be asked, and I would like for us to be proactive and have the answers from a dollar standpoint, because I know that the dollar amounts for things that cost now, it's gonna be different than it was in 2001, and it's gonna cost us money, and if we're gonna save $2 million to move over there, is it worth trying to move over there with all the permit and all the aggravation that you gotta get in environmental
Environmental
constraints?
constraints have not changed.
They have not changed, and they got worse. And I can tell you, I enjoy the road now, but I was a big opponent against International Drive. I-40 International Drive, and I still think it was a bad move, but I know people come through there. But it is causing problems other places, I can guarantee you that. That water is going somewhere, and it's a big problem with some of the flooding that we had. But hey, that got in, I don't know. But I know that from an environmental standpoint, we had a major issue with that, and I think that'll still exist.
I remembered, I was there too, and you're
Yeah,
right.
you're
we
probably on
did.
that list too.
I was, I was. The only thing I'm saying, and I appreciate, you've done a great job in answering the questions and meeting with people, and we need to continue that. But as a board, we really need to be informed.
Oh, yeah, we
Good,
need,
bad, or
yeah,
ugly.
yeah, I need the numbers. I need to know if it's $20 million, if we're gonna save $20 million and stick it in your pocket, or is it gonna cost me $25 million to try to do something different? We need to know
There's
that.
no assurance that our applications will pass. And we need to not compromise those possibilities that are out there. We need to protect those alternative actions.
I'm not against the alternative, and like Pam said, I don't wanna stop the phase 3 momentum, because it takes time to get started. But I would like to know that when public opinion comes, if we get the permit, that we can answer those questions, and it's about a dollar amount. It's also about an environmental impact. What kind of environmental impact? If you can't get a bridge going across there to haul dirt, you're gonna have to haul it down Highway 90, okay? Think about the environmental impact that's coming. We got all of these places down here looking at 1,000 homes that's a half a mile from where I live. I mean, at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you can't even get on the highway. Where are you gonna run all these trucks down the road? And what's gonna be the impact on those heavy roads, those heavy trucks on Highway 90? You're gonna end up having to resurface the highway. So there's more than just one issue here. And like I say, I'm not a landfill engineer, but I do have common sense to know that when things happen, other things are triggered from it. So I would ask them to put some figures together for me for that, so that we can answer those questions, because those questions will be asked. And I'd like to have the answers up front and not behind the 8 ball.
We've started the history lesson
Okay, good.
already.
Yeah, because he said, your name's on the list. So, so he started a history lesson.
I'm going,
Yeah, and he wasn't smiling when he said it either.
and
I have an issue that I'd like to, it's not an issue. I have a question I'd like to ask about. Things are changing so dynamically in this area as far as people coming in. Do we do any diversity training here at the Solid Waste Authority?
Do you mean training a lot
Well,
of people to do different people's
No,
jobs?
what I mean is a diverse state of people that are coming into the area. Our people interface not only with people on the job site, they interface with people outside of the job site. And I would like to see some professional diversity training that speaks to the kinds of issues that we'll have around this coming. Things have changed. I look at the folk that's right around my neighborhood there. They're not just from Philadelphia or West Virginia. These people are coming from everywhere. We have people coming in here from all over the world. And at some point in time, we will be interfacing with those people. And I just think, not only from a good training standpoint, I just think it's a good legal aspect in case we have some problems. We can say that we've had diversity training. Not only we've had it in-house for our own staff so that they know how to interact with people around. And I would just suggest that maybe we get an outside firm to come maybe do it one time a year so that we would have some record of showing that has occurred.
We do that training. Esther does it with, she has to split her people up on 2 or 3 different mornings, time off, keeping the centers open and those type of things. And they do all kind of training on how to present to the public and what you do and what you don't do. But I know you can, and they are, and those people are the ones that meet most of the
Right.
public.
Well,
Now,
even
if we
if-
can get some of the other people house broke on
You also want employees
speaking
interacting.
to the public.
Right, yeah, and I guess my thing is, we used to do it at Tech.
Yes.
And my only thing is what, to cover the Solid Waste Authority, I would like to see an external, group do it, for everybody that's internal. That way, we don't have to say that I told this person this. This person, we can say that we had a professional group come in and do the training for the Solid Waste Authority employees. And that way we have, you're not policing your own self. And it's just a good way to make sure that we're covered in case there are any liabilities that may occur from that. That's just my thought.
Good thought.
Okay?
We'll look at it.
One other thing, Mike.
And anything, go ahead.
On August 27, which is the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, going up to August 30th of 2019, the Quad State SWANA meeting is going to be in Asheville, North Carolina. And also Tuesday, the 27th is our monthly board meeting. And I don't know how many people plan on attending the meeting in Asheville, but we may need to consider moving the board meeting.
We have, I talked to Esther today to let you know we've already started looking at a block of rooms because I figured that's where most people would want to go, is to Asheville. So once we figure out how many people are planning on going, then we can work on changing that date or whatever for that. I did not ask her August 27th through the 30th.
27 to 30 in Asheville.
There is a Phoenix, one that's in October. I have not asked her to do anything from that because most of the people that I have talked to recently said that they had no interest in going to Phoenix. But if you do have an interest in maybe wanting to go to the national, whatever is out in Phoenix, we'll probably need to know that sooner than later because those places will probably start going fast. But to be on the safe side for Asheville, we have already started to book some rooms for that, just in case you guys decide to go. So I don't sleep all day. Anything else for roundtable discussion? Okay, I need a motion to go into executive session. We need to discuss the executive director evaluation.
So moved.
It's been properly moved and second. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and we will remove and go to executive session. Thank you. Okay, there was no action, votes, or anything taken. Pardon? Oh, I'm sorry, I need a motion to
Make
come
a
out of
motion that we
executive
Come
session.
back out of executive session. I make the motion.
Been seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. There was no votes or any transaction taking place during the executive session. Is there anything else that we need for the good of the cause for today? Then I will call this meeting adjourned.